Hey everybody, Jake here for American Muscle, and in this video we're taking a look at the MBRP Armor Black Street Version Catback exhaust fitting 2024 and newer Mustang GT Fastbacks without the factory active exhaust. Now this system is going to be for the GT owner who's after an exhaust that sounds and looks great for a really good price. This is a full catback that's going to wake up your S650, but it also won't cost you a bundle. Now on our loudness meter, we're going to give this one a reasonable 3 out of 5. If you're looking for outright raucous volume, this is not going to be your pick. Though this is still a noticeable improvement in volume and tone over stock, it's just not going to have your neighbors shaking their fists as you drive by. Now, it's a really badly kept secret around these parts that I'm actually a pretty big fan of MBRP's exhaust setups, and I don't say that lightly. This one is no different because, like their other systems for the S650 and pretty much whatever you can find, this offers some of the best sound for your money, and this one just has a little extra added flavor. Now, of course, this is a full catback setup, meaning that it is going to replace your factory mufflers and resonators, leaving you with just these two bullet-style mufflers in the back. Now this is MBRP Street Profile, so this is the quieter option in their lineup. But you still get quite a bit more sound and tone out of this. It's certainly deeper and more guttural than the stock pipes, but it's not going to blow out your eardrums, so it's a great fit for a daily driver, like you heard in those clips at the start of the video. Now, as I always say, more noise outside, of course, leads to more noise inside of the cabin, but again, this system really isn't obtrusive. You can still take your car on a long road trip with this installed. It's not going to grate your nerves like some of the other options might. And drone is kept at bay thanks to the included H-pipe. Now, H-pipes are really cool because they do a couple of things. First, they allow exhaust gas pulses to cross over and come together, which eliminates dissonant frequencies that cause that pesky drone. But they also increase flow and power, especially at lower RPMs, which for a high-strung engine like the Coyote is certainly a benefit. It's a place where it can use a little bit of extra oomph. Now, where this system differs from the rest, though, is at the back. Both the mufflers and the tips are finished in this high-temp wrinkle black powder coat. So it gives you some stealthy good looks and a little bit of added protection. The tips are dual wall slash cut units that are 4.5 inches in diameter, so larger than your factory stock ones, and look just a little bit more sinister as well. You can also adjust these, so if you want to have them sticking out a little bit more, or you want them to line up perfectly with the bumper, you've got that adjustment kind of built in. Now these tips are made from T304 stainless steel, and the rest of the system is all made from mandrel bent 3-inch aluminized steel. Now this material is best suited to a car that lives in a drier climate. So if you live in the desert, or your car doesn't see a lot of snow and rain or moisture in general, this is going to serve you quite well. And since the rearmost parts are coated in that high temp black, they're going to have some additional protection against rust and corrosion for you. This one is definitely a value proposition, as it's going to save you a considerable amount over a comparable 409 or T304 stainless setup. And that brings us nicely to pricing. Now, as I've alluded to, that's probably the best part, as this system is only going to run you about $825. And while that's not, $5, this is really a great price, even compared to the most affordable T304 stainless catback available for these cars. It's a really killer price for something that gives you a killer sound and good looks, with some additional peace of mind thrown in for good measure. Installation is going to get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 2 hours to complete. Now this is of course a bolt-on install, and it doesn't require you to make any modifications to your vehicle, so it's going to utilize all your factory exhaust hanger locations, and again will bolt right up. Exhaust can be a little bit finicky on these cars just because space under it is tight if you're not working on a lift. But fear not, this is definitely a job that you can tackle at home, and we're going to walk you through that process right now. So with that, let's head on out to the shop.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact, 3/8 extension, a 15 and 13 millimeter swivel socket, 8 millimeter Allen wrench, a pry bar, exhaust hanger tool, hammer, and also not shown to be a lift and pole jack. All right, today we're going to be putting an exhaust on our Mustang. First, we're going to watch a quick video on how to install a stock system, and then we'll come back here to install the new one.
So the first thing we're going to do is come to the double flange behind our cat. We have 4 15 millimeter bolts that we can loosen up with a 15 millimeter socket. Now we're going to leave this just like that for now as we work on the rest. One thing to keep in mind is when we go to pull this off, this little hook is keeping this on, so you're going to have to get a flathead screwdriver to pull back on that on both sides when we go to remove it. Next, we can come right behind our rear diff to this hanger. There's one on each side of this bracket. There's a 13 millimeter bolt holding it on. So I've got a 13mm swivel socket on an extension to pop this off. And now we'll just come to the other side and do the same exact thing. And now with them both removed, you can push up to get those hangers off the hooks. And do that same thing on the other side. Now, last thing we need to do before we can remove this is remove these 2 bolts that were on the inside of those 2 hangers behind the rear diff. So I'm using that same 13mm socket with an extension. Now with those removed, we can push it up off the hook and pull that down to get the clearance we need. So now I've got myself a buddy to support the weight of the rear of the exhaust while I work on the front. We're gonna push this towards the rear to disconnect these 2 pipes, and then we can pull it forward to pull it out of the back hangers. So now with our exhaust removed, we can take an exhaust hanger remover tool to pop off these 2 hangers because we will have to reuse them for our new exhaust. Now, last thing we need to pop off is our 2 clamps that are at the front of the exhaust. You can take a rubber mallet and get the edge of a pry bar on the edge of the clamp to tap these off.
So we're gonna start off at the front here. We're gonna put our factory clamps back on. Just make sure you line up the notches with the clips there. We already have one here. This other one just slides right on like that. Then we can get our H-pipe in place. And you see I do have a pull jack just to help hold everything up. Just gonna get that back and slide that H-pipe into our front clamps. And we can go ahead and get our axle pipes on. So we have our axle pipe next. We already have our clamp on there. All of our clamps are the same size, 3 inch, so you don't need to mix them up. We're gonna put our factory hanger on our new exhaust. We can just slide that into our H-pipe and just hook your hanger up in place on the rear subframe. And you can go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and we'll get our bolts tightened for the back. All right, so we're gonna get our bolts threaded in. We got 2 on our hangers. Let's get them started. And we'll put our cover in place, hook that over, and thread in our 2 bolts. We can go ahead and grab our impact, extension, and 13mm swivel socket. We'll tighten all of those down. So we're gonna go ahead and start tightening our front clamps first. So we can grab an impact and 15mm socket, tighten our factory clamps. Now we can tighten our 2 clamps at the back of our H-pipe. Same thing, impact and 15mm socket. And now we can get our muffler sections on. All right, now we just need to get our muffler section in place. So we'll get it started in our hanger first, and then into our axle pipe. get that in there, and you go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. We'll come back and tighten our clamp down. So we'll grab our impacted 15mm socket, tighten our clamp down. Go ahead and tighten the other clamp on the other muffler. Now we can put our tip on. So we're gonna grab our tip. You'll see the Allen bolt on the side. We're gonna grab an 8mm Allen wrench, slide that on, and adjust it to where you want, and go ahead and tighten that down. Go ahead and do the same thing with the other tip. And that wraps up our install of our MBRP Armor Black Catback Exhaust Street version for a 2024 newer Mustang GT Fastback without active exhaust. And remember, for everything Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.